A testimony to me now is how God is revealing himself to you in your life. A testimony is a story of how God has shown his love to you, how God has grown you and shaped you. And I think in order to have a testimony, you have to give up your life to Christ and allow him to write your story.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
Criminal charges, bro. Guess like we're avoiding the shark. Call it leather fetish, dude.
No, today turbo neck guy.
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number.
That checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt.
We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast, where we collect experiences as badges, memories as treasures, and stories as wealth. In this episode, Ray Machen-Gray gives his testimony of Jesus Christ. We talk all about Ray's life story, victories and defeats, rock bottom revelations, and the triumphant turning of the tides. Let's dive in.
My ice is already melted.
All right, guys, welcome back to this.
You're blooper reel, bro.
I know, it's incredible.
I love it.
Guys, welcome back to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Today, who do we have on?
Ray Machen-Gray.
Dude, so stoked to have you on. We've known each other for a long time. We go all the way back to Biola. There's some Space Waves collaborations there. We've been in and out of each other's lives over the last decade or so.
Yeah, it's been almost a decade now.
And then now more recently, we've been going to the same church. I was in your wedding. Everything's going great. Super stoked to have you on today. How are you doing, Ray?
Dude, it's been a week for sure, but I'm doing good, man. God's blessing is so apparent in this season, and I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful for our friendship and just seeing how the Lord has developed even that, to go from being in and out of each other's lives to ending up pretty much in the same area, same church. And yeah, like you said, in my wedding and celebrating that with me, it's just been cool to see the Lord growing our friendship. And yeah, doing good, man. I wish you guys could see my face.
It's got a goatee on it.
I found out recently I'm going to be a dad. So I said, I'll sport the goatee, make it really count, because every dad's got a goatee. So
speak for yourself, my dude.
That's right. And you're working on the dad bod too right now.
Oh my gosh.
Shots fired.
Unfortunately, that's just kind of happening. So I'm trying to actively resist that.
Yeah.
I know it's a stereotype, but I'd like to not be a part of that stereotype.
I hear you. Well, dude, today's going to be a very special episode because take it away, Ray. Take it away, Ray. Drop a testy on us.
Oh my gosh, that was the best intro you could have had. Spencer asked me to get on here and share my testimony. Oh man, a testimony to me now is not just a one story, one life story. I believe that if you're walking out a relationship with Christ, that God is establishing your testimony every single day. And I think that a testimony in itself is how God is revealing himself to you in your life. A testimony is a story of how God has shown his love to you, how God has grown you and shaped you. And I think in order to have a testimony, you have to give up your life to Christ and allow him to write your story. And I think that's what a testimony is a story of God's faithfulness in your life.
A story of seasons as well.
Exactly. And man, it's like to start telling my testimony, it feels like you're weaving together all of these at the time seemingly unrelated stories. That's, you look back in your life and you see that all of it was a part of leading you to an actual understanding of Christ, an intimate understanding of how God works, the personal God that just shows up in super special ways to you, ways I always have this prayer of Lord, speak to me or speak to these people in ways that they can understand. There's a threshold that I believe you cross when you fully and completely lay down your life and everything that you have envisioned for your future, where you're willing to give it up for Christ in place of the mystery something that he says is out there for you if you would only put your trust in him. And so my testimony in a nutshell,
This is going to be a very big nutshell, by the way.
big nutshell, yes.
These are Ray's nuts we're talking about here.
You are sick.
Yikes. Yeah, I got my wife pregnant after 2 weeks of marriage, so not going to brag, but that's pretty cool.
This is too sensual. Pull out.
In a nutshell, I would say that my life is a series of trying and failing over and over again till I got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. And the reality of my life was failure, or at least that's what it felt like. And I didn't want to be living that anymore.
Or living, period.
Living that reality in this world was not worth it to me anymore if it was just going to end in failure. And I felt like a lot of my adult life was marked by failure. Yeah, I got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. And I gave God one last chance to fully take over, to get my hands out of it, to get completely removed from it and say, God, I'll give you one last chance. At that time, I thought I had given him a lot of chances. I look back now and I say, I never even gave God an opportunity to have any control of my life. So without getting too much in detail before we start.
That's the prelude.
Yes.
That's the foreshadowing of what's to come.
Yeah.
Do you want to start at the beginning, though, with Fletcher?
All the way back, man.
I think we should go all the way back, dude.
Like
Take our little Back to the Future time machine.
Man.
Let's go 88 miles an hour back to the past.
Let's go, dude.
What year were you born?
I was born October 10th, 1997. So my dad was a pilot. When him and my mom met, they grew up together, kind of family friends. And so they met and fell in love and got married pretty quick. And my dad was getting his pilot's license and he was doing some ministry work and stuff. He loved the Lord a lot. He was a musician and a pilot, like I said.
What did he play?
He was a guitarist and he sang. So he played at the Soldat and Nazarene worship team at their church. December 20th, 2000, my dad was flying a cargo plane. He just got a job at a cargo company in Alaska. I was born and raised there, and they had just dropped the shipment off across the inlet, so across the ocean, and they were flying back. So much of Alaska's shipping and supplies and stuff depends on planes because there's not very many roads in Alaska.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Perfect. So he was coming back from dropping that off, and he was actually the co-pilot. And I actually, funny enough, I went through the accident report. That's basically, they came back, they hit rough weather and visibility was low, and they crashed into the very top of this mountain. So they were flying too low and their instruments were kind of messed up. So he crashed and he died.
And the other pilot as well?
The other pilot as well, yeah. So recently I found the accident report and I went back and read. And the way I processed my dad's death was I focused on the family I had now. So after my dad died, 6 months later, my mom remarried. And that story is pretty cool. But if I went into every single story, we would be here for a really long time. So,
but Pete's an incredible man, and you consider him your dad just as well. And you guys have bonded, and I met him at the wedding. Incredible guy, incredible story, and beautiful family. They had some more kids, and so you have lots of siblings.
Yeah, that's the Machen-Gray legacy. There's 2 last names there. So I don't remember. I wasn't old enough. He died when I was 3.5 or so. I grew up and I didn't really engage with it that much because part of my, I think, responsibility as a young boy, as the oldest, who to a lot of degree understood what my stepdad, who I just say is my dad, his role in our family stepping in. My mom had 2 of us, so me and my sister Addie, and then she was 8 months pregnant with my brother Elias. So when my dad died, that was what was left behind, and my stepdad stepped in with a widow and 3 kids. So from a very young age, I understood how much he loved us and how willing he was to step into a family who had experienced loss, not know what the future was going to hold with his relationship with those kids. And just to step in willingly and with just full trust in God. I understood that from a young age. So I did not engage a lot with my dad's death because I didn't need to. I poured my energy into investing in my relationship with my living father. And so it's not until recently, the last few years, where I've begun to start processing some of those emotions and that trauma, as a kid, why I am the way I am, why I engage with people in certain ways. And when I get quote unquote stressed, as a therapist would say in therapy terms, like why I react in certain ways because of all of those dynamics going on there. And so, yeah, there's some videos of, my dad when he was alive behind the camera talking to me. And I've heard his voice before and I've seen videos of him, but then seeing me, toddler me, respond to him and call him daddy. And then this reality of you did know your dad, you called him your dad, and those realities just coming to a head and just crashing. It broke me. And, since then, it's little by little piecing through those almost inaccessible parts of me that seem to well up, sadness and pain that I can't access. And so my brother would go over to my Aunt Heidi's house, who was Fletcher's older sister. They were super close. And he would, hang out with them and really his connection with that family was so tight. And he would come home with clothes and his guitar and just like things that my aunt had kept, looking to kind of pass on to us that I was never interested in receiving. So it was always this weird thing where I was jealous for that desire to know who my dad was, to latch onto those things. And there was this dualism of me running away from that pain, even if I didn't understand it, running away from the death of my father. And at the same time, desiring to honor the sacrifice in that decision for Pete to step into my family as our father. And also surrounded by, we had three sides of the family. We had the Machens, the Grays, and my mom's side, the Whitakers, or the Burnetts, sorry.
You forgot her maiden name?
Well, yeah, I was thinking of her sisters. Yeah. So
sorry, Mom.
All three sides of the family, we had three Christmases every year for each side. And so Pete was around Fletcher's family. So imagine being in that place and being with your wife's late husband's family often, and they're reminiscing about him and talking to your adopted kids about who Fletcher was. I don't remember my dad dying. I don't remember those things, but I keep hearing these things from my grandma and my aunts. Oh yeah, when your dad died, like you said this, or my grandma just shared this story with me. She said, when my dad died, a few months later, my mom went and visited somebody, and I was staying with my grandma, Fletcher's mom. And my grandma had asked me, do you know where mommy went? She was going to make sure like I knew she was going to be back. And I said, she's in heaven going to get daddy. And I'm hearing this story a few days ago, and I'm like, I don't remember that. I don't remember any of that stuff. But it was very clear that I wasn't just a kid that didn't know his dad, right? Which is what I kind of how I would always explain it. I never knew my father, blah, blah, blah. But you hear stories like this, and at 3, 4, 5 years old, I understood my dad died and he was in heaven and he wasn't coming back. And, that does affect a child in the way that their brain develops, the way that they view, like I said, relationships and caring for people and all those things. And so I think to wrap up that, I had a wonderful childhood, and my stepdad, Pete, he just took care of us, and he taught us how to be men, and he taught me self-discipline, and he loves the Lord so much. And we would read Bible stories together, and love of God was so permeated through our home. But then behind the scenes, you have a mom who's grieving the loss of her husband while she's married to her new husband, and 3 kids who are dealing with the death of their father in different ways. And then Pete and my mom had 2 more kids, Isaiah and Olivia, who are my half siblings technically. That doesn't feel like that to me. And they have their own relationships. They're not blood related to the Machen side, but we spent Christmases together and we spent all these, and feeling like they're different than everybody else and their personalities are different. And then we also adopted, we did foster care growing up. So my youngest brother's adopted. And so that's a whole nother thing. And so have all this multifaceted family. It's incredible because at this stage in life now, and you just see God's hand in every person's life in our family. And every side of my family is just saturated with the love of God. And so I'm so thankful for the family that I grew up in. So my reality today is due to God's faithfulness. So I would say, as far as a testimony goes, like we could talk about the testimony of my family, the testimony of God's faithfulness in our family and the multi-generational favor that's been placed on us. And that's definitely a good preface into growing up for sure.
Cool. Yeah. So Ray, what was high school like?
I went to church. I started, serving on the worship team in middle school. And high school was honestly pretty fun. I had a great childhood. We had a house on the edge of a bluff, which overlooked the ocean, the inlet. The mountain that was across that body of water was the mountain that my dad crashed into.
Oh, so you could see it?
I could see it, yeah. I mean, it was always just beautiful to me.
And didn't people say, oh my goodness, you look like somebody I used to know?
I used to get stopped. I remember I was going to a track meet, but I was walking across the parking lot, my high school parking lot, and I was dressed in my track uniform. And this random guy is beelining diagonally towards me. And I kind of see him coming towards me. And he comes straight up to me and goes, "Are you related to Fletcher Machen?" And I was like, yeah, like a surprise. I was like, yeah, he was my father. And he said, "Your dad was an awesome guy." And then just left. And I was like, what? And a few years later, I was working at a pizza place in my hometown, and probably once a month, I'd say on average, I'd have somebody ask me. I would be serving a table and they'd call me over and they'd be like, "I saw you walk past me and you reminded me of somebody. Do you know Fletcher Machen, or did you know?" And I said, "Yeah, he's my dad." And they'd have a story about it, and there was another guy that came right up to the counter to get his pizza, and he just was staring at me and he's like, "You look so familiar. You look like this guy that I knew." And I said, "What's his name, Fletcher?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, he's my dad." And he's like, "I ran into your dad a week before he died in a gas station." And he asked me how I was doing. And my mom kind of describes it. She says that like there were a lot of people that viewed Fletcher as their best friend, but they would not have necessarily been Fletcher's best friend just because he was just that kind of person. He made everybody feel welcome and included and all those things. And so there was just weird things where, I ended up in California of all places, and I had friends that were in college and I wasn't in college anymore. And I was kind of like living on the dorms, but I wasn't going to college at Biola in California. And my dad did the exact same thing, come to find out, at Northwest Nazarene University. He had friends that were in college and he wasn't going to college there, but he was staying at the dorms and stuff. And it was like he was there without actually being there. And that was like me. And I lived in South Lake Tahoe for a year, and to come to find out, like, he loved South Lake Tahoe and he'd been there many times before. And he grew up in Alaska. I'll be flipping through whatever and I'll see a picture of him and he's dressed the exact same, looks like me, has the same hair, same mustache. And I'm like, that's the weird thing. I'm like him without even trying to be like him. Yeah, all that to say, I think high school was pretty normal. I dated a girl, we'll call her girlfriend one. I had some other, flings or whatever, but she was my first serious girlfriend. She was struggling and her dad was an alcoholic. And so, our relationship was good and we were both Christians, but I think that was kind of my first foray stepping into what it was like to support somebody who was, would go through periods of instability. And I was always, I always tried to be that solid foundation for somebody, and it felt purposeful. It felt like it gave me purpose to kind of be that support for somebody. So throughout it, I would have said that I was a Christian and I was doing things that reflected my faith. But did I pray and did I have a relationship with Jesus? No, I didn't.
Well, what brought you down to SoCal and Biola?
So I applied to Biola my senior year of high school. And yeah, by graduation day, me and girlfriend one had broken up and I was come down to California. I never stepped foot in California before and started going to Biola. I was a music ed major. So my choir teacher in high school, he's awesome, but he convinced me he encouraged me to go into music right away. That's actually where I met Spencer for the first time, was at Biola. And man, yeah, right away I got a girlfriend, and that was not a good relationship at all.
At all.
And so, man, I spent all my time with her and ditched my classes and stayed up late. And dude, I wasn't ready for college, you know. Like if I could do it again, I would wait to go to college. I'm actually going back to school. I start classes online. I start tomorrow. So if I would do it all again, I would probably have waited till now to start college. I was there for a semester. I flunked out of all my classes. And I think that began the process of I can't let anybody know that I'm not living up to what everybody thought I was going to do. So there was always a plan B. Plan A always came with a plan B. This began it's probably 4-year period of the Great Escape. So I went to college.
Your mom goes to college.
2016 was there for a semester, flunked out all my classes. Found out later that I could just go to my dean and just write a letter of because I was on scholarship. So I could write a letter of basically an intent to get my grades up and I get my scholarships back. I just left. I said, I flunked out of college. Wasn't for me. Music ed wasn't for me. I met a lot of fun people and loved my classes, but I just sucked in college. So I immediately started doing long distance with this girl. This is girlfriend number 2. Transferred to University of Alaska Fairbanks, and I was undeclared, and I was there for probably 3 months. And then I was failing all my classes again. So I just moved home, and my girlfriend and I were still doing long distance, and things were just getting really intense, and she was emotionally unstable, and her house was very unstable as well. So she was living with her parents at the time. And so I had this grand idea of, hey, I'm living at home in Alaska. You can't stay at home anymore because it's so toxic. Why don't you come and move up here? And actually, I said it was my idea, but it was definitely her idea. So she moved up to Alaska.
Alaska, of all places.
And got an apartment with my cousin. And I was there from 2017 to the beginning of 2018. And we were just working. We both had jobs. I worked at a gym and a nutrition shop, GNC, baby. And
snorting creatine left and right.
Yeah. And that was kind of the beginning of when I would say my life began to reflect less and less of, a Christian that was walking out their relationship with God, and, boundaries were crossed, and just, we fought all the time. Our relationship was very unhealthy.
I can attest to that. I remember on Space Waves.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
You on the phone constantly.
Yeah.
Just going through it.
And it was her being unfaithful to me. And like I said before, in that turn the other cheek, it was this.
You took her back.
Yeah. I was like, this girl doesn't know what it's like to have unconditional love. She doesn't know what it's like for somebody to forgive her when she doesn't deserve it. So I'm going to be that person. That's my ministry. That's the way that I'm living out my relationship with, quote unquote, relationship with Christ. And so I just look back on that time of just a lot of confusion. I had such a warped understanding of the gospel, and I never read the Bible. I'd never read the Bible before. I've read parts of it, but you never stop and ask yourself, well, what's my relationship with Christ look like? Is it personal? Am I growing in my faith? And do I actually know what I'm talking about if somebody asked me that? And so it was just a very perverted way of walking out your faith, was basically subjecting myself to emotional and, at the end of our relationship, physical abuse. And it was, it was hard. A lot of gaslighting, a lot of blame shifting.
You said you loved me!
Very damaging. I remember very specifically. So she was up there in Alaska, and eventually she decided basically like, okay, we've spent enough time up here. Now we need to go move close to my family. And we were both ready to get out of Alaska anyway, because we were just working, it's like, let's figure out what we're going to do. So 2018, we moved down to South Lake Tahoe. So her family lived in Carson City, Nevada, which is right down the hill from Tahoe.
Just change for the sake of change.
Exactly.
Constantly running, trying to figure out life.
Exactly.
I know the story.
Yeah. So we made our great escape to South Lake Tahoe, and Cade came down with me, and then girlfriend number 2 was rooming with my cousin Emma. So they both moved down as well. So it was the 4 of us. I was working at a candy shop.
Welcome to the candy shop.
Still, it's a super fun job, but I was so broke. I would finish my shift, and we got quote unquote tips at this place, which was basically just leftover change that people dropped into a cup. So I'd walk home with like $4 in tips like every day, and I'd bike. We didn't have a car, so I'd bike over to McDonald's and I'd just buy like 4 cheeseburgers. And I remember I would go sit on the docks at the lake, and I just eat cheeseburgers and listen to music. That was like my escape from my escape, because I knew that when I was going home that it was going to be a fight.
Of course, there's someone else.
You didn't want to go home because you were avoiding more confrontations with girlfriend number 2.
Yeah. And there was a moment where we were fighting and yelling hysterically. It was just like,
I said, who is she? Answer me!
It was really bad. Just belligerent. Somebody who just, there's no logic there. Like, it's just emotions. It's just anger and an outpouring of emotions, and there's no logic that can compete with that. And I remember one day specifically, I had said something that had, something that they had said that had hurt me, and it turned around in, 20 minutes to being about me and something that I did. And it was just screaming, yelling, all this stuff. And it was like something in my brain just cracked. And I went into the corner of the room, and I just curled up into like a fetal position. And I always say it was like, I realized in that moment that this person had their hand and fingers like in my brain and was like controlling me. It was this inescapable manipulation. And it was such this visual representation that I could see, but on the outside, I just couldn't even move. It was like I had an error code or something, and I was just broken down for a second. And that began the beginning of kind of this, okay, I need to get out of this. I need to figure out how to get out of this. And so October, my birthday, I went back home to Alaska to celebrate.
Well, what about Space
Oh,
Waves?
yeah,
That was that
sorry.
summer, yeah.
Yeah, we got to talk about Space Waves. Yeah, so did you shoot in the summer of 2018?
It was like July.
July, okay.
Yeah.
So Spencer had put a post out on Facebook being like, hey, I'm looking for extras for this movie that I'm shooting. And they were shooting in Grass Valley, California, which is north of Sacramento. And that was not like right next door to Tahoe, but it was close.
How do you know that?
And I was like, dang, dude, like Spencer? I haven't seen that guy in years. And there was this feeling.
And I can escape my girlfriend for a little bit.
I can get away. Oh my God. It was that. It was like, I can get away and be a part of something, like even if it's just for like a few hours or something. And at the time it was this like, I want to go back to Biola. Like, I wanted to go back to school. I was there for a semester. I would have these dreams of being back on Biola's campus. And I was like, dang, Spencer is a guy, I met there, and it'd be so cool to connect. And so I messaged back. I was like, dude, I'm there. Like, I'm living in South Lake Tahoe. I'm there. And actually, I responded to that one, and then you sent directly to me and said, hey, actually, a cast member fell through. Do you want to play this, basically bit part in this movie? And I was like, dude, that's so sick. I'm there.
And we had a similar taste as well growing up. We always connected on like the small town and Napoleon Dynamite and all that stuff. Synthwave. Yeah. You're into the 80s, so it just made sense.
Flat broke, bro, but I got a bus ticket. Took me to Colfax, California, and I got dropped. I kind of talk about this in some of the other podcast episodes, but it was a wild experience to get up there. And
you were waiting at the bus stop.
Yeah, I was in Colfax
because we were having a nightmare on on set.
What a nightmare.
And took forever to come get you. And wasn't it just like a ghost town? And you were
It was
like,
a ghost town.
Hey, I haven't heard from Andrew or Spencer. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I think Andrew told me he'd be there at like 1 a.m. Like, he's like, it's going late. We're going to be there at 1 a.m. So I just sat on this bench in the middle of town, which was like very small. Not the bench, the town. And
This tiny bench.
Dude, and I just was contemplating life and writing, journaling and stuff. And I got picked up and driven to this house, Spencer's house. And the next day, like, we were shooting, and, you know, I'm in a few scenes in the movie, and it was a few day shoot. And then I went back home.
You came back to shoot some more.
I did. And yeah, somebody came down to Tahoe and picked me up, I think. And it was a whole crazy thing. But yeah, I'd be on set, and girlfriend number 2 had been, you know, just
blowing up
my phone, and I'm not doing good. And she had some of her own like personal issues and struggles and stuff. And so it was like, I couldn't be there all the time to help. And I think it's pretty unhealthy to do that anyway, when you're just dating somebody. So yeah, Spaceways was an amazing experience. And it's where, you know, Spencer and I reconnected, and just this kind of stepping away and perspective starting to shift of being like, this isn't healthy and this isn't right. But then comes the idea of like, how in the world, we'd been dating for 2 years, like, how in the world am I gonna step away? And yeah, I loved this person.
Love is too powerful for simple people like us.
And had invested so much in them, and the relationship had worked so hard. It's kind of just like, there's a whole 2 years of wasted time.
It's like a sunk cost bias.
Exactly.
I've been in here too long.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you break it off?
Baby, we're done.
Well, there was one day we were driving back from her parents' house, and she'd started talking about kids, and it was like, hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, okay,
do you want kids with this person?
It was this person is going to be the mother of my children. I can deal with this, even though I shouldn't have been. I can deal with this, but I cannot imagine my kids dealing with this too.
I'm out, man.
And I wasn't perfect either, you know, like, I'm sure there was things that could have been doing better, but I think after that moment, it was like, this just isn't right. And so I went up to visit my family for my birthday on October 10th, 2018. That was my 21st birthday. I went up and I had my 21st birthday drink with Cade and my cousin David, who were both in my wedding. We were the 3 amigos growing up, so we were best friends, and they just were honest with me. And I told them, I was like, I think I need to break up with, you know,
Classified.
I think I need to break up with girlfriend number 2. And they said, like, yeah, you need to do it when you get home, like, right away. Do it before you change your mind. And so we flew home. She was up there with me too, visiting my family. So we flew home. And at this point, I had the lease had expired on the place that I was at. It expired in like July or August. And so I was living on her couch at her and her roommate's house. And by living on her couch, like, I mean, sometimes I was on the couch, sometimes on her bed, you know, it's like, it was bad. And
yeah,
like my stuff was there, and it was in boxes and stuff. So we got home, she went and took a shower.
That's too much.
And while she was in the shower, I packed up all my stuff. And she came out, and
Great
I said,
escape.
Yeah, great escape. And I said, girlfriend number 2, I'm breaking up with you.
We are over now.
And, you know, of course, she freaked out. And for a long time, I had that whole conversation recorded. I recorded everything just in case I got murdered or something. No, I'm just kidding. You know, just in case I needed to refer back to anything.
Did you record the breakup?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
did.
We'll have to listen to that off air
No, I
sometime.
deleted it.
Okay.
I deleted it a long time ago.
Okay,
I deleted
good.
it. So I found an Airbnb for 2 weeks. I put in my 2 weeks notice that next day. Airbnb for 2 weeks. I'd bike to work, and November 10th or something, I was home back in Alaska again.
What did your parents think about all this? That must have been tough to come clean to them and be like, I've been living this way. How much did you tell them?
Well, they were just happy that I was home. They knew about our relationship, and they knew that they saw all of it. You know, they saw how she treated me and how our relationship was, and the toxicity that was going on. And I just respect them a lot because, you know, they didn't force me to do anything. They didn't make snide comments. My parents would always just say, like, we want you to be with somebody who thinks you're the greatest. And we want you to be with somebody who loves you so much. And just a shameless plug here, my wife, Amanda, like that is her to a T. That is a testimony in itself of God bringing a woman into my life who
actually loves you,
actually loves me for who I am, I was just telling her last night, you're so temperate. Even when we have disagreements, there's never no going back. It's like we still say, hey, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for this. And I love you so much. And we'll
figure this out.
We'll figure this out. And there's no cussing. It was every other word was a cuss word in our fights, and I never cussed. And then by the end of it, I was doing it all, and, you fucking make me feel like I'm insane,
Yeah.
Like, at that point you just don't even care anymore. And it's just your reality. It's your normal. And so praise God that my new normal is actually normal and not just what I'm pretending is normal. So yeah, I'm so grateful that there are women out there that do love the Lord and are temperate. And just because you are in love with somebody and just because you're attracted to somebody doesn't mean you need to date them. It doesn't mean that you need to commit your life to them or live with them. Find somebody who is actually good. Find somebody who's actually kind and doesn't just want to be the qualities of a godly woman, but actually embody those things.
Well, what you said at your wedding was so mind-blowing. You said in your vows, this is not a woman you can search for. This is a woman you pray for. And that just blew my mind. I was like, dude, Ray is so right. Because I'd been searching. And it's like, how about praying for that person instead of just viewing every woman as like, oh, they don't measure up. Oh, it's not quite right. All of this.
Right.
That searching just leaves you so empty.
Right.
And you're focused on all the wrong things when you're trying to make it happen yourself.
Right. And so I think anybody watching a movie or something, like this is where that redemption arc should begin. Right. But it doesn't.
So what happened next?
Yeah. So that relationship and failing college and always having a plan B and leaving back and forth. You get into this habit of almost like grip locking, right? Where you're like the wheel, the car is going out of control and I just need to course correct continually. Overcorrect a lot.
Left and right.
To some degree.
Smashing trash cans, mailboxes, running over cats.
And to some degree, like you just get really good at it to the point where even if it's subconsciously, you get used to that being the way that you run your life.
Fly by the seat of your pants.
Of your pants. And when things start to go off course, you correct it before anybody can tell you otherwise. And so when I moved back home, I kind of rebounded from that relationship not in another relationship, but just in the way that I lived my life. Like I would go to parties, I was drinking, I was coming home super late and just making pretty poor decisions. And this was in 2018 when I moved back home. And I remember coming home late one night and I told my parents I'd be back at a certain time or whatever. I came home at 3 a.m. and my mom was up in the kitchen and I was like, oh, hey mom, sorry I'm late, whatever. And she was like, I just want you to be okay.
And you say, I'm fine.
I'm
fine.
And I knew in that moment that the way that I was handling everything probably wasn't the best. And I started talking to a counselor at that time. And coming off of insanely toxic relationship and just feeling that okay, there goes 3 years of my life and I have, nothing to show for it. It's hard, it's hard to deal with that, especially again, I just want to keep everybody's mind on the fact that there's this expectation, unspoken expectation for me to do great things in college and in my life. And I was a failure over and over again. And not that things were happening to me, but that I was literally part of the failing process, that I was the cause of these things, that I was choosing to be in these relationships. I was choosing to leave college. I was choosing these things. And so, I just got in my party mode and just kind of let go a little bit. And to some degree, that was a good mindset, but it just wasn't accomplished in the right way. So my mom said that to me, and that was when I decided to reapply to Biola. And I was like, I'm going back to school. I'm going to make this work. So that was the end of kind of phase 2 of my adult life. And this is kind of moving into phase 3. So, I reapplied to Biola. I went back in the fall of 2019. And so at this point, so this is my 3rd time trying California out. And so I picked her up basically right where I left off and went back into the music ed program. And that's when I met girlfriend number 3.
Whoa, baby girl. You're crafting my whole nervous system.
You know how to pick them, Ray.
I do. So I feel like this one was different because this person was a little more goofy and a little more kind of even keeled. And I very quickly would say that I fell in love with this person and pursued them. And school actually went really well this time around, but COVID hit in 2020. And so where do you think I went when COVID hit?
Back to Alaska.
Back to Alaska, baby. So I'm dating this girl long distance. And at this point, we're talking about marriage. And this is my person. And it's different than the people in the past because this person is future. It's my stability. It's my, okay, even if I don't win at life, even if I don't graduate college, like at least I'm going to be married. And, the relationship overall was good. 2021, everything opened back up and I went back down to California again for the 4th time.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Went directly to this girl's house and her family's house, and, her parents loved me, and, I stayed with them for a little bit. And the day that we were driving back to Biola, she went to Biola too, packed all our stuff up. We drove back and we were just like, man, we can't wait to finally, we'd been doing long distance for most of our relationship, finally get to be a couple together and just get to build something together. And the day after we got back to Biola to start, she came into my dorm room and broke up with me. And it was absolutely devastating. Just there's that future, taken from you, this person that you thought you were going to marry. The problem though was for the next several months, it was not a clean breakup. And so she still gave me a lot of hope. And of course, I'm still invested in the relationship. So I dropped out of Biola again because at that point, it's plan B. I decided that at the end of the summer, I was going to move back to Alaska again.
You serious?
My parents were selling their house and I was going to go help them pack everything up, and they were moving to Texas. So I didn't have a girlfriend or a future, right, with somebody. I didn't want to be a choir teacher, and Biola was expensive. I had no purpose. I had no direction. So yeah, those few months after that were really hard because she gave me, a lot of hope, and I left my dorm in like March or April, and she was still going to Biola, so she lived in the dorms. And I kid you not, no joke, I would sneak into her dorm with her roommate there, and I lived, because I didn't have a place to live, I lived in my car for like 3 or 4 months. I was working a job, but I lived in my car.
What job did you have?
I was a server at Shabuya in La Mirada.
That's right.
I was the head server. So yeah, I was making good money.
But you were still living in your car.
I was living in my car.
And you're going over to her dorm room.
Yeah.
Are you guys hooking up or what?
No.
Okay.
No, we weren't. I mean, hooking up was something I said I was never going to do before I, got married, but I did everything else, like that's the Christianese coming through, is like, hey, as long as I don't have sex.
Right. If we can dry hump, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I would go and visit her, and I lived basically on the floor on a mattress in her dorm. I'd sneak in for like a month I was there. And then they moved to off-campus housing, and I did the same thing. I basically lived there. And it kind of all came to a head because we weren't dating, but I wanted to date her, and she didn't want to date me, but she also, wasn't willing to make it, clean.
So she still wants the emotional support?
Yeah, and, physical support also.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
I know.
And I mean, no, there's no shade. It's just like, I wanted more than that.
You were taking what you could get.
Exactly. It's a really good way to say it. I was taking what I could get. So it kind of all came to a head at the end of August, the day before I was supposed to leave and go back to Alaska and help my parents move. You know, the thing that I said I was never going to do. And over the course of time, it's like all these parts of my identity that I had toted up as this is what makes me a Christian. This is what solidifies my identity as a Christian. I go to church, you know, I don't have sex. And over the course of those years, those slowly go away. And so all you're left with, and all I was left with at that time, was I still haven't had sex. And I'm not going to give that up. I don't know if this is controversial to say, but God would so much rather have a relationship with us and so much rather know us and have us know him and make a few, make mistakes, cross boundaries and because
come back to him.
Exactly. Because at least then the Holy Spirit can convict us and God can speak to us and bring people into our lives. Or if you're going to a church consistently, bring people into your life that can correct you lovingly. But needless to say, like that overnight from the last day we were together to the day I left, like that was gone. And that last pillar was gone. And it was a terrible experience. And it was so sad. It was so painful. And it was so filled with guilt and regret and just this almost like this person had never had that either. And so it's this guilt as a man of I just took that from somebody. And sex is so sacred for women that grew up in the church. And of course it is for men as well, but it's just really emotionally damaging thing that happens when you quote unquote take that from somebody. And so that guilt was on me. And that was something I felt immediately. It shouldn't be about just the principle, right? Don't do this, don't do that. I think that God would so much rather us slip up and admit that we are fallible humans, that God allows us to experience those things so that we would pursue him, not out of guilt, but out of God, that left me empty. And we all know it, whether or not you are a Christian or not, there are things in your life that
leave you empty.
And
there was a really incredible quote that one of my good friends sent me, and it was basically, God will never ask you, why did you do this sin? But he will ask you, why did you not come back to me?
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, I just gave a sermon at my church on Peter and stepping out in the boat. And we fault Peter so much. The very first thing we think about is that time where Peter tried to walk on water with Jesus and he sank. Oh, ye of little faith, right? And we don't give him credit for the fact that right when he began to sink, he called out, Lord, save me. Can we acknowledge not only that we need God, but we also need to be saved from something? And so many of us aren't willing to admit that we need to be saved from something.
So what happened after that night?
Yeah, so I went back to Alaska. Man, I was depressed. I was depressed. I was 24, back in Alaska again.
Freaking again!
And what do I have to show for it? Years and years of failure, years and years of guilt and shame, and just absolute emptiness. And I was, mourning the loss of somebody that I loved, not like they died, just mourning the loss of that relationship, still coming to terms with the fact that this person that I loved, a lot of people know what that feels like. Just that person, the one that got away, Yeah, it's hard. And then, just that, like, God, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Yeah, I felt like Plankton in SpongeBob the movie when he says, I've exhausted every evil plan from A to Y. And he goes to Z and it still doesn't work, right? And it's like, I felt like I'd gone through all this stuff.
Escape, B, C, D, all the way to Z.
All the way to Z.
That rhymed.
A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. Yeah.
So we're getting close to rock bottom here.
Yeah. It was rock bottom, calls with this person saying, you've damaged me. Like, I don't know how I'm ever going to recover from this. And
that's a lot. That's a lot to carry.
It's a lot to carry. And it was fall in Alaska, and I was parked in my car in the middle of this empty parking lot, and it was dark. I'd driven out there. I was staying at my parents' rental house. They'd sold their house, and they're staying at a rental, and I was sleeping on the couch. And I was weary, and I was tired, and I just remember praying. I always say it's the first real conversation that I ever had with God. You can censor this out if you want to, but I just said, "Fuck you, God." And I don't know. It's like that was how I felt, and I was like, this was supposed to be different. Like I was supposed to be different. As I've been following you, like I'm supposed to be getting better, and you're supposed to be blessing me. And this doesn't feel. Well, I can't even live anymore. And I just got to that point where I was so done with life and everything. I didn't want to go through another failure. I didn't want to hurt somebody else. I didn't want to feel that guilt.
Which just seems inevitable with the track record, right?
Oh, exactly.
You can't get out of this pattern.
Exactly. And and ultimately, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I never had that. I want to be a doctor. I want to be this. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I wanted to be. I didn't know who I was going to be with. And I know to people who are listening, it doesn't sound like, rock bottom, but it absolutely was. And I was ready to, I just remember telling God, like, I'm either going to give up my life tonight, or I'm going to give up my life to you tonight.
Give up your life or take your life.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was really, really difficult, but man, I don't wish that on anybody, but to get to the point in your life where you don't have money and you don't have relationship and you're alone, man, what else is there to find in this earth that can give you meaning and purpose? And I was done.
Sucks to be me right now.
I was being crushed by the weight of guilt and crushed by the weight of all of failure. I mean, failure is the word for it. And I said, okay, God, I'm just going to basically pretend like I don't know how to be a Christian. Because at this point, there's not really anything to show anybody that I am a Christian. Maybe I've been doing this wrong. Maybe there's more to this. Everybody always says there's more. And I see people who are living out this relationship, and it's different than what is happening to me. And it's different than whatever understanding I have of it. You say and you promise that there's something more, that you are beyond comprehension, that living out and walking a relationship with Jesus is, your mercies are new every morning, and taking up your cross and following Jesus. And I'm like, I didn't know what any of that meant, but I've heard it said before. And I know it's in the Bible that I claim to read, but I realized that this worldview and this faith that I held, I didn't know the first thing about. And I admitted that to God. I don't know what is happening here, but it doesn't feel right. And it doesn't feel like you, or at least how I've heard about who you are. And so I didn't know what the next step was. I didn't know anything, but I basically said, hey, you know what, God? Finally, I'm okay with never getting married. I'm okay with never finding that perfect job. I'm okay if you send me to North Korea. Anything is better than this. Not only this currently, but I look back on my track record. Anything is better than what I apparently can do. I don't want any of that. I do not want that. That's all I knew. I knew what I didn't want. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know because I had no idea what a true relationship with Christ looked like. And I grew up in it. Like, I grew up with family that loved the Lord and stuff, but for myself, I didn't understand it. And so, I gave up my life to Christ fully and completely, and there was no going back because I didn't want to go back, And man, it wasn't an overnight thing.
Wait, so you're telling me you prayed that prayer and like the entire heavens didn't open up and everything just got better overnight and life was perfect? That didn't happen?
No, you know what's crazy is it actually got worse. It actually got so much worse. So I would never have thought it, because the last place I wanted to go at this point was California, right?
Are you kidding me?
2 weeks later, I got a call from a voice teacher at Biola and said, hey, are you still in California? And I said, no, I'm actually in Alaska. And they said, we want to hire you for our opera at Biola. We don't have a lead and we want you to be our lead. And it was right after, it was a week or so after. I'll go wherever you want me, God. Wherever you want me to go, I'm there. And I just said, well, I don't want to go back there, but it looks like I'm going back to California. That's the beginning of that shift of now I'm going to the places that I don't want to go to. I'm dealing with the things that I don't want to deal with. I'm getting put in situations that I don't want to deal with.
And you said to me once too, you said, Spencer, you say to God, I'll go wherever, but do you say, I'll do anything, whatever you want? And it was like, there's levels to the submission, right?
Yeah. And man, God is so patient, and we also have to be patient. Man, I didn't have a job besides the show. Man, it paid $1,000 for like 5 months of work, which is like $200 a month. That's impossible to live on in California.
So why did you take it?
I just said yes. I didn't know what. I knew that it was God. I knew that something like that it didn't happen to me. There's something there. I don't know what it is, but hey, if I'm there for a week and it doesn't work out, I just go over to my family's house in Texas and we'll figure something else out. But so I was back in California a week before I was supposed to drive from Texas to California to start my first day of rehearsals. I didn't have a place to live in California. And on my birthday, October 10th, Ben Maley, my best man, called me and said, hey, happy birthday. I heard you were coming to California. Do you want a place to live? And I was like, thank you, God. Like, there it is. And we'd just been praying about a place to live. And so again, there's that confirmation of like, hey, if I don't find a place, then, maybe I'm just going to send it and just go anyway and not know where I'm going. But man, it was like so clear. There's the place to live. So I got California. I started doing rehearsals, and I was there for a month. And during that time, Andrew Bayer, the producer of Space Waves, reached out to me, and I was only supposed to be at Ben and Haley's house for like a month. And during that time, looking for other places. And so a week before I'm supposed to move out, I get a text from Andrew, and he says, hey, Ray, I don't know if you're still in California, but we're looking for another roommate in our Tustin house. And I'm like, okay, I'm there. It's just this string of, I didn't have anything to do with that. And the Lord just provides, and the Lord provided that for me.
What about money?
My parents helped out. My grandparents helped out. My siblings helped out. I couldn't even tell you how I survived. I could not tell you how I paid for rent. I was working other stuff, like I was doing accompanying and playing piano and just random stuff. I was doing Uber Eats and like just scraping everything together, and it's just interesting because like I wasn't reading the Bible very much during that time. I wasn't praying a lot, but what I was doing was, for the first time in my life, God was growing my heart for him. And it was that foundation of
being willing
and just God saying, look, see me, I'm real. And I love you. And when I moved to Tustin, man, it was such a cool place. The guys in that house were awesome. But I was broke and broken. Every single dollar was accounted for, and it was like I was scraping by, and I was so sad. I was still mourning the loss of that relationship. It was really hard for me. It was like I couldn't let go. I'd started going to Echo Church in Anaheim, 1275 East Broadway. I'd started going to church, and I'd said, okay, God, I want to let you build my schedule before anything else. And I made sure I was at every church event, and I made sure I was at church every single morning, and I was growing every time I was there. And I knew like God gave me this, so I'm going to commit my time to prioritizing that. And plus, how could that hurt? How could it hurt prioritizing church over the other things that never panned out for me anyway? Mm-hmm. A few weeks later, my car got towed. I couldn't get it out of tow because I didn't have enough money. So I signed my car over to a tow company.
You're not so tough without your car, are ya?
I was brought so low, and I was brought so emotionally raw. I remember I would walk down to the middle of downtown Tustin, Old Town Tustin actually, and I would sit on a bench in the middle of the intersection, not in the middle of the intersection, but in the middle of town right there. And everything shut down at like 9 there. So I would go at like 10, 11 o'clock. And, I didn't have enough money for food. I didn't have enough money for anything. I would just sit on this bench and I would just cry out to God. How am I supposed to get through this? How come I cannot get over this person? I'm so lost and so broken, but I knew God heard me.
Talk to God as though he can hear you, because he can. If you don't have faith, say that. Ask for faith.
And I knew that like I was having these real emotional conversations with God. And God had to establish my heart, that searching and that seeking of God. There had to be a reason for me to seek him. And it had to come from a place of, I don't feel okay. I'm struggling really hard. And man, it is through our struggles, the hardest times, where we need God the most. When everything's good and normal, like, wow, why do we really need God? What's the point in pursuing God? We have to understand that even, times that are really hard and times that are really easy, we can always find a reason to come to God in need and desperation. And so I was desperate, man. I was desperate for answers. I was desperate for, God, is this girl are you gonna bring us back together? Are you gonna help me effing get over this person? And it was hard. God brought me so low, and he had to clear out all of this junk. God was uprooting a lot, he was forcing me to sit in my loneliness and remove me from this string of relationships that I'd been in. Like, how did I get here? How did I waste so much of my life? And I'm supposed to be graduated by now, and I'm supposed to have savings, and I can barely put, a quarter tank of gas in my car.
That you don't have anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. I ran through 3 cars in that season, and they were all 3 Saturns. One of them got busted up by somebody. So that's when I got the car that I got towed on accident. Lost that car. And then another one I drove to the ground, basically. Yeah, so through the spring of 2022, I started to talk about God more often. I started to talk about and see the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I started to find joy and peace in the days where like I didn't have an answer for stuff. And I was like, well, I'm going to be okay. Just finding the comfort in knowing that at the end of the day, when I die, I want God to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. And the verse that I clung on to was, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. And it was like everything I did, I tried to seek first the kingdom of God, whether that was praying about something before I made a decision or making my schedule. Seek first the kingdom of God, seek first the kingdom of God. I was looking for a job after the show ended. I stumbled into this coffee shop that had a help wanted sign on it, and I ended up working there for 2 years. And it was a coffee shop job. I opened at 6:30 and got off at like 2-ish. And that meant that every evening was open for me to get involved in church. Every evening was open for me to spend time with my friends, and we were closed on Sundays. So every church I was there. And so again, like God allowed that job to fit around him. And it's like when that foundation is pursuing Christ above everything, he does make a way for these other things to be added, but it's in his time and at the right time. So I started working at a coffee shop. It was a little mundane, and I learned how to do coffee, which was cool. Coffee shop was also a cafe. So we had like sandwiches and stuff, and I had to prep, and I'd be in the back cutting vegetables, and I'd just be listening to YouTube, Spotify, learning about like the historical background and theology stuff. And I mean, it was just a really cool period. And every day I probably listened to like 2 hours worth of content every single day, sermons. And I got really interested in it. That's about the time that my pastor started discipleship with me. We read 5 chapters a week, and then we would meet every week. I was led through and discipled through the word of God, and it became a part of my life. And I did that with you too. And getting in there consistently, I started to see what I would read would line up with what would happen for the day. And I would read something in the morning, and then somebody would bring up that same thing later that day, or I'd see an opportunity to get to live out that. And yeah, I think from there, I got a job working at the coffee shop, and then Ben got me on at Whittier Christian High School, where I started playing piano for the choir program. And over the years, you know, I became the choir teacher eventually. Never thought I was going to do that. It's just, you know, since then, man, my whole life has changed, and it is not of my own accord. Paul says, I won't boast in anything, but I will boast in Jesus Christ. That I will say that the only reason why I am here, and the only reason why I have anything to be thankful for in my life, is because of God. I think to go more specifically, if you have felt empty and searching, if you are a Christian or grew up in the church and you feel like there's something missing, there is something missing. You should have a testimony of God's redemptive arc in your life. And maybe you've known that that's needed to happen. You know that there's things that you've gripped onto that you're not willing to give up. You got to take up your cross and follow me, Jesus says. And we think of that as walking out a relationship with Christ. But what he's saying is take up your cross, follow me to the cross, and crucify yourself to everything that you think you know, everything that you want in life. Crucify, die with me, and be raised to life with me. We don't get to raise ourselves to life. We don't get to choose what life we're raising ourselves to. Jesus chooses that. I am somebody who can say I'm not ashamed to declare the gospel of Jesus Christ, because I was so far from God. I was so broken, and I was trying my best. I wasn't just a rebel. I was trying my best, or at least I felt like it. And journey of being a Christian is not easy.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
And it did get worse for me, because God had to clear out all of the crap that I believed, all the lies that I believed about myself. It takes time, and I'm still on that journey. But, you know, since giving my life to Christ up till now, dude, like there's been so many mistakes. You know, wasn't girlfriend number 4, but it was like a friends with benefits kind of thing happening in between there, you know, and you know, pornography, struggling with that. And man, it's like, we don't have to be perfect. You know, we don't have to come to, that's the misconception, is like, I need to clean myself up. You know, that's trying to do it on your own strength. And the reality is that the only person that can heal those things and redeem those things in your life is God. So we have to come to him in our brokenness. We have to come to him and be willing to make mistakes and be willing to give ourselves grace. And God gives us grace. And I think that's the beautiful thing, is God doesn't ask us to be perfect. It's God's sanctifying power in our lives that is perfecting us. We will never be perfect on this earth, but God is in charge of that. Yeah, I don't want where I'm at to sound like I have it all together, or, you know, I'm at the finish line, because I'm absolutely not. But I do know that you have to completely, with everything, be willing to give it up to God. I always bring up the disciples, because they followed Jesus around. They saw him doing crazy stuff, doing things that nobody's ever done before, never before been done before.
In the history of ever.
Exactly.
This was brand new, never before been done before in the history of ever.
And they didn't know what was going on. It says very often the disciples did not understand. Jesus explains it to him, and it says they still did not understand. And that's us. We're just disciples. We're just as lost, and in some regards, way more lost than they were, because they were with Jesus physically, and they knew their Bible. They understood the references that Jesus was making, because that was part of their culture. For us, we don't know our Bible. Most Christians don't know their Bible. God is our last resort. And as much as we would like to say the God of the universe, the Ancient of Days, the creator of all things, who fine-tuned the universe down to, you know, the smallest speck. If things were off by just a little bit, none of life could exist. The laws of physics, I mean, intricacies of DNA, like you can just go on and on. We'd like to say that he wasn't our last option, but he's completely okay with him being our last option.
Then there's nothing else.
There's nothing else. Exactly. Exactly.
So Ray, that brings us up to current day. What's been happening in your life over the last year or so?
Yeah, so we kind of left off in 2022, 2023, and obviously it's 2025 right now. So I think through those few years of 21 through 23, bro, that was my growth season, and just all in, depending on God for everything. Like, I didn't have a choice, right? And God grew my heart for him, to authentically seek him. And I think in that same way, I don't know, he just started to bring me contentment in my stage of life, and just being like, hey, if I'm serving the Lord, I found my purpose, right? Is like, this is what I've been looking for. I felt like I was living out the identity that I was always supposed to be walking in. And so I had just started becoming content. Like, I went on some dates, Hinge dates here and there, and they were always one off. I went on a few, second, third dates or whatever, but it was just like, I'm looking for that spark, that God send clear as day. Okay, this is it. But until then, I don't need that. And so October 2023, I had been going to a pub in Brea called McAllen's every Monday for a few years now, and it's a trivia night. So a friend of a friend invited a girl that they used to be roommates with. She showed up and very quickly met her. It was super quick. And a few weeks later, we ended up sitting across from each other at another trivia night, and we're talking to her, and it was just that who is this person? Who is this woman? And I was like, this is somebody that I would definitely marry. It was pretty quick for me. I need to ask that person out. If I don't, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so a few weeks later, I asked her out. I was so nervous. I was so nervous. And I asked her out in front of her roommates, because the only time I ever saw her was at trivia night, and they were literally standing off to the side, just watching everything happen. And I said, hey, are you doing anything on Thursday? And I have a buddy who is a jazz player, and he has a jazz show. And she goes, I could tell she already knew she couldn't do it. And I was like, oh no. And so she said, I actually have something going on later, but I'll let you know. And I was like, okay, cool. Good night. I said, what is it? I said, you look shitty. Good night, Denise. I left, and people were like, what? And everyone knew I was going to ask her too. And so I didn't back down though. I think 2 weeks later, she's back at trivia, and I was like, hey, so I know Thursday didn't work out, but just let me know anytime. I'll
just
take you out.
Make yourself very available.
Very available. I got her number from the friend, because I only ever saw her at trivia, and I forgot to ask for her phone number the first time I asked her out. So I asked my friend, I was like, I don't have her phone number.
Did you say, can you ask if it's okay to give it to me?
Yes. I said, can you text her and see if she'd be okay with you giving me her phone number? And she sent me a screenshot of her response, and she was like, oh my gosh, of course, that's so sweet, whatever. And I was like, okay, that's a good sign. And so I didn't know if this girl was interested in me at all, or at all, or whatever. Yeah. So I kind of kept quizzing her down. She texted me 3 weeks after I first asked her out. And we ended up going out, and I took her to my favorite bookstore in Tustin, which was where I used to go all the time, right outside that door, to sit on that bench and, cry to God and stuff. And I took her to sushi and mini golf. And man, by the end of the night, it was totally just undeniable that it was something bigger than the both of us. And I was in love. And it was like, this is the person. This is the person I'm supposed to marry. And I knew pretty early on, but it was different than some of the other times that I'd said that, I was not looking for anybody. I was not searching for the person to marry. I was going on dates here and there, but I was kind of just doing my due diligence to keep myself, in the loop in case God wanted to make one of those count. But it was just like in a moment. She was so kind and so caring towards people. Overall, just so sweet. And she knew my movie quotes, which was awesome. We quoted Napoleon Dynamite like the first time we ever talked.
You gonna eat your tots?
This is awesome. So we went on that first date, and things were just man, they were just bliss. It was so God honoring. And I felt like you said, it's redemption, is this redeeming, all these redeeming elements of somebody who I can share pain and struggles with, who would encourage me, point me to Christ. I couldn't believe it. It was like, is this really happening? Does this person really exist? And so we went on our first date in February, and then we started dating like April 1st. And by the summer, I was in Alaska on a boat saving up for a ring, as we just both knew. And we talked about it. It was like not even a question for us. It was like, yeah, this is the next step. And I went with her family to a Montana trip in June, like 2 months after we started dating. It was awesome. And we drove
and they
there.
Liked you.
They loved me. Yeah. I mean, well, I won't say they loved me, but they approved.
They grew to love you.
They approved. And I'm definitely a little bit more of like a nomad adventurer. I love my road trips. So her and I did a road trip to we drove to Montana. You will find if you're compatible with somebody if you do a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
And man, we were just like two peas in a pod, kind of like iconic, like we're iconic in just the way that we get along. And she's my best friend. And so we went on this Montana trip. And then by, late June, I was in Alaska on a boat saving up for a ring. And that all happened crazy. I was looking for a job for the summer. I was teaching at Whittier Christian High School, and I didn't have a job for the summer. And my mom texted me and was like, hey, your brother's working on a boat up in Alaska, and he'd started dating somebody. And he wants kind of a little bit of a summer because it's like 6 days a week. Maybe you guys could work 1 week on, 1 week off and swap. And I was like, and she kind of said it as a joke. And I was like, wait, say that again?
Say it again to my face.
And I was like, I'm going to Alaska.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
And I saved up enough money for a ring. It paid so well working on a boat.
I'm on a boat. I'm on a boat. Everybody look at me because I'm sailing on a boat.
It was awesome. And I didn't even do like a fishing boat. It was like a safety boat. We pulled up under the docks and waited for dock workers to fall off, even though no one ever did.
What were you doing on the boat?
Sitting, reading, watching YouTube.
Nice.
Reading the word a lot, which was cool too. But she actually came up and visited Alaska during that summer too. And it was just amazing. She got to meet all my family. And, we both know I'm saving up a ring. And I told her that's why I was going there. And I told her I was going to propose to her before the end of that year. So this is 2024 now. I got back in August. I went straight to her dad's. I bought the ring. I got it in a week later. Went straight to her dad's house and talked to him. Got his blessing. And I was going to wait till her birthday, October 6th, and surprise her there. But I couldn't wait. So what better day to propose than the 21st night of September?
That's my birthday, bro.
What? No way, dude. Yeah, dude. I proposed on
You're
September
right, that
21st.
is the best night.
21st night of September. Yeah, it was...
it's like the Earth, Wind, and Fire song.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. So I proposed to her outside of the bookstore that we had our first date at. She said yes, and just exciting. And we went into wedding planning. And we went on a few more road trips, adventures. We went to Idaho and went and visited my family for Christmas. And we went and visited my family like a week after the proposal too. And just so much celebration and fun. And then our wedding was June 14th.
Best wedding ever.
It was so cool. I describe it like
a glimpse of heaven,
It was
right?
a glimpse of heaven. I mean, everybody dancing. It was perfect. Her dress was, she was just, I don't even have words. No, I would say it was the best day of my life. We went on a 2-week honeymoon road trip up the coast to Washington and back. And it was just like, man, every second of the wedding, every second of the road trip, it's just like all you can say is, God, you were so good and I don't deserve any of this. And then, we found out 3 weeks later that Amanda was pregnant. So crazy.
Air horn sound effects. Let's go.
8 weeks along now, and like every day, just more and more excited to be parents. We went in for our first ultrasound, and the doctor was probing and said that they couldn't find a heartbeat and the baby was dead. And just pretty nonchalant about it. Like, your baby's dead. These are the things that we need to do. You can take a pill and pass it. You can go home and pass it, or we can manage it right now. We can get a tube and suck out the fetal tissue, is how they said it. And Amanda's just, that out of everything in my life, that was the hardest thing that we've ever gone through. And for 20 minutes, we're dealing with that, dead baby. inside of my wife. And we asked for a second opinion, and the second doctor comes in, and I'm over on the bench praying.
You just love benches, bro.
I love benches, dude. I guess it was a chair now that I think about it. But everything I can do and saying, Lord God, if there's any way, like, please give this baby life. Like, let this not be the end of this story. And she walks in and she says, so I saw a picture of the ultrasound and your baby is dead, which you can't see that from an ultrasound. So that's crazy. But the first doctor puts the probe back in, and within 15, 20 seconds, heartbeat. And I just, lose it. Just start sobbing, start weeping. And there's two outcomes. Either the doctor that had been doing it for 27 years made a mistake, or they really just wanted to go home and they didn't really care that much because it was like 5 o'clock, or our baby really was dead and God breathed life into it. But she said, I'm so sorry. In the 27 years, this has never happened before. So that was traumatizing. And all that to say, like, the process isn't easy, and we don't know why things happen, but God was in control and
still is.
And so yesterday we went into a Christian ultrasound clinic and got to see our baby, and super healthy, 170 beats per minute. It's on the high range, which is awesome. And the doctors at the hospital had told us it was actually like 6 weeks old. It was like pretty little. We thought it was like 7. And then this ultrasound technician at this Christian place, she said, how long did they say that this baby was? How far along? And they said it was 6 weeks. And she's like, this baby is over 8 weeks along. And you wouldn't be able to see the fingers and the toes. And we got to see everything. We got a video and we got pictures. And
do you know if it's a boy or girl?
We don't know yet. And okay. I think I really wanted to know at the beginning when we first found out. Amanda kind of wanted it to be a surprise, and then we kind of like flip-flopped a little bit. So now she kind of wants to know, and I kind of wanted to, I actually really want it to be a surprise. So I think we're probably gonna I'm convincing her to wait, and we've been hearing from people like, hey, it's worth the wait. And to have that surprise at the end is like so cool. And she's so strong and she loves the Lord so much, and it's just been so cool in our marriage to just pray together in the morning and at night, and to feel that support and love, and just have the love of my life be so fitting for me.
So Ray, how did you come up with that banger of a line when you said, this is not one that you can search for, but you must pray for? How did you come up with that? Did that just come to you? Because that was legendary.
It did, because I wrote it the night before. I wrote our vows the night before, but I wanted it to be, some people do it in a rush, and I wanted it to be the night before because I wanted everything to be a reflection of everything that I was feeling the day before our wedding. All the gratitude that I was able to express and reflecting on, our journey together. And I did pray for her, and I did search for her, and one worked and one didn't, I mean, I could tell it was a good line, but I didn't think it was going to be like, a banger. God's way is not the easy way, but it's the right way, and it's the best way. God's best is you are living in line with who God created you to be, and you are carrying out his call and his ministry that he designed specifically for you. He made you, he crafted you before the beginning of time. You were on his mind, and he has a very specific plan, and he has a portion set aside for you. You have to want that over the things that you want in your life, and not just some of them, all of them. But the point of our existence after we're saved is to experience growth, and then to share that with others, to experience God's love and to share God's love with others, so that your friends and your family and the person down the street can be in heaven with you.
And we have unique opportunities on earth to trust God in the struggle, which we wouldn't have once we're reunited with him.
Exactly. I was talking to you last night, Spencer, just like about the problem of evil, and we spend so much time trying to figure out why God lets bad things happen and all those things. But reality is that we need to be asking a different question, and that is, why did God send his son
to enter
Jesus
into our struggles?
To enter into our struggles. What God would do that? What God would humble himself to suffering and pain and endure more pain than anyone else in existence has ever endured? Why would he do that? And I think I'm starting to understand and think about those things, but that's the question we should be asking, is not, why is my life not fixed already? It is, wow, God really loves me and Jesus understands me. And it's not about the upward trajectory of our life and up, getting better. It's about the vertical relationship getting closer to God. That's the whole point, because that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of our existence anyway, is being in the presence of God. I know, Spencer, you're right in the middle of that struggle. How do I pursue God and also like survive? That means, and it's hard, but that just means that God is still tilling the ground and he's still creating that space for that good thing that he's going to bring into your life. For it to survive and thrive, God has to create the space first. And if you're still in that struggle and yours kind of feels like everything, that's where I was too. It's like everything is a struggle. That's the groundwork. God is laying the foundation and he has to get those weeds up. He has to till that ground and lay that foundation for everything else to rest on. And when that is laid, then that woman or that job or whatever, when God gives it to you, it's going to have a strong foundation to stand on. And you're going to be like, hey, all of it was worth it. Stay the course and keep the faith and keep pursuing. And this is for everybody. If you're in that struggle, don't focus on where you're at. You know, that's what happened to Peter, why he sank, is he saw the wind and the waves and he began to doubt and he began to be scared. You're allowed to do that. But when you start to sink, say, Lord, save me. Call out to God. He's going to be there every single time, even if it's hard.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, last question, Ray.
Hit me.
What would you like to say to your future child? They are going to listen to this one day.
Wow. Well, I've been thinking a lot more about legacy lately, just because I finally get to. It's weird to think about talking about like my future child, but so yeah. Wow. Well, first of all, we are, Amanda, okay, that's weird. Your mom and I are 8 months. You are 8 months old and
8 weeks.
Yeah, sorry. I'm a little nervous right now talking to my kid. You're 8 weeks old, and 4 days ago we thought you died, and that was the hardest thing that both of us had ever gone through. And honestly, we didn't think something like that was going to ever be that hard, but it was terrifying. It is only because of God, and we believe that you are going to be here. You are a miracle baby, and you have given us what our hearts have always wanted, to be a mom and to be a dad. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I want to be around for a long time, but you know, my dad wasn't around for a long time, so you never know. But you are going to know the Lord, and mommy and daddy are so excited to meet you. We just know that you're going to be iconic and funny. And yeah, I mean, you're not here yet, so I don't really know what to say other than you're going to be so loved. And I want one of those baby carrier things that you strap to your chest and the baby's just like chilling there, and you know, I'm going to be carrying you on my shoulders, and we want to take you to Alaska, and I want to show you where I grew up and be doing some road trips, and you're going to be going to all the gas stations with me and picking out drinks and
energy drinks.
Yeah. I'm swearing off them. I want to be around for you, you know, like I want to be around. My heart can't crap out on you. So, but no, for real, right now, names we have, if you're a girl, is Rosemary Lynn, Rosie. And if you're a boy, Murphy MacGyver Machen-Gray. So nice. I had to twist your mom's arm on that one, but her mom, your grandma, thinks it's awesome. So, but yeah, just, it's weird. I'm sure, I mean, you will hear this. That's just so crazy, but just know that mommy and daddy love you already and are so excited to see you, and you're going to be a wonderful kid. And we just can't wait to take a bunch of pictures and memories and stuff with you. So
right on, dude. That's the legacy.
It's the legacy.
Well, Ray, thanks so much for sharing your story. This was an incredible time with you. And yeah, dude, just so proud to be your friend and can't wait to see where our lives take us.
Yeah, dude, it's honestly such an honor. I know, you know, we postponed this a few times. So it's just cool to get to sit down and do this for a few hours. And, you're so good at recording things and just having things. You've started building your legacy a long time ago. And it's just cool to be, affected by you as a friend and your creativity and just your vision for art and memories. Yeah, what a gift it is that you bring to, and I know that you're not always appreciated for it, but what a gift you bring to allow other people to, whether they know it or not, just like live on, and for stories to affect people.
One of my friends passed away recently, and I still have podcast episodes to release with them.
Wow.
Yeah. Glad I have those, but yeah, it's kind of weird and it's tough.
That's where we're at. Amanda's keeping a pregnancy journal. I'm keeping this. I said, hey, if you keep a journal about what's going on in our lives, and I'll keep a Bible journal, and we're set.
We got our bases covered.
Yeah, and it's influenced a lot from you and the way that you approach your life, and just how much you have saved and ready to give your kids someday that are just going to let's just say you're not around in 30 years, and your kids, they're going to have years worth of life that they get to live with you.
And the rest of the world as well. It's a living, breathing testimony, exactly. Dude, putting it all on display.
We all have different calls in our lives. And I think the last thing that I'd say is, if you're not a believer and you don't know who Christ is, you have that longing for something, he will give you those answers. You're not going to know them right away. You're going to be super lost. But if you're in the Orange County area,
come to Echo.
Come to Echo Church, 1275 East Broadway. We meet at 9:30 a.m. Group of 75-ish people who are real people. And Spencer, you're like the most down-to-earth real guy I've met. What do you think? They're pretty real, right? They're pretty real.
Yeah, they're pretty real.
Yeah, if you need a place, go there, and
we look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you. And our God is so good. The sooner that we trust that and give up our lives, the sooner that we get to live in that freedom. Yeah.
Right on, bro. All right, we'll cut it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating/review. 5 stars is a power play. Be sure to follow the show and connect with me on social medias at Spencer Whiteout to stay up to date. As always, stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
Inserting exclusive audio recording from the vault.
I just learned I can record a phone call.
What? How do you do that?
It's there was this button, and I pushed this button, and it said you can do call recording.
I see it. Is it up in the left corner?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Do you mind if I record this call if you...
Nah, bro. I don't care at all.
That would be encouraging, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, just... I love everything you're saying, and just you being in the struggle with me, bro, means the world. And what were you saying about everyone's path is different and we experience different hardships, all that?
Yeah, it's hard because I relate, but then at the same time, there's things about your struggles in your path that only God understands. And that's the whole point, is that no human is going to understand the depth of pain that you're going through to the degree that you do. And I think it's important to remember that everything that you're going through, rejection and loneliness and just financial troubles and struggles and just feeling, beaten down, that Jesus has walked that path before all of us, and to a greater extent than any of us ever will. Not only did he experience that in his life, but in his death, as he paid the penalty for all of the things that we've chosen to do and all of the sickness and just depravity in the world that he's absorbed and felt the pain and grief of all of that. The problem of evil and why evil exists and why we have to go through trials. John Lennox, theologian, he says, everyone's trying to answer that question, why do I have to experience these things and why does God allow these things to happen? And he says, why don't we ask a different question? We're asking the wrong question. And the question we should be asking is, why did God enter into our pain and our suffering? Why did he, who knew no sin, why did he choose to descend from heaven, the God of the universe who created all of us, descend from heaven to experience suffering with us, God with us, right? Emmanuel, God with us. That always brought me comfort in when I would dwell and sit with God. I don't know why this is happening to me. I don't know why I'm being rejected right now. But all I know is that even if nobody on this entire earth understood what I was going through, you would understand more than anybody else. And I think sometimes we get locked in this battle with God of why is my life not different, and why, if you are a good God who promises good things, hasn't brought that to me yet and helped me understand it. Over time, and I know this to be true, over time, rejection and even loneliness, purposelessness, it becomes easier because you begin to manifest God with us in you. That God is never distant from you, and God is close to you in your struggles. And when life is hard, God is the closest to you because you understand God suffered more than anybody else, experienced the most pain that anybody else has experienced before. And I don't know, it's kind of like when you say like, yeah, I appreciate what you're saying because I know that you get it. And you say that because you know that I've gone through the hard stuff too, and you value my wisdom even more because of that. And I would just encourage you that Jesus' death on the cross, like the way that you view me and my wisdom and my, I guess, companionship on this journey, like that's God tenfold, 100-fold. And that's a journey in itself, seeing God through that lens. And we have to be brought through suffering to see God in that light. And so I know that was a lot, but
that was good.
He gets it, bro. Like he gets you. And I don't have an answer for why you're going through this, but understand that he deeply sympathizes with you and deeply feels it. But, Jesus felt the pain of the whips, and he begged God to take the cup from him, right? And the cup of wrath that would be poured out, all humanity poured out on him. He begged God to take it from him, and then proceeded to be willing to endure that for the sake of God's purpose and plan. And I just want to encourage you that draw your strength from Jesus to continue on this journey. And you've begged God to take that cup from you, right? Over and over and over again. And he hasn't yet. And so relate to Jesus in that struggle of just continuing to give it up and continuing to say, your will be done, not mine. And I know how hard that is, dude. And I want you to feel encouraged in the discouragement that Jesus is walking right next to you right now with a crown of thorns in his head, bleeding, carrying his cross, and stumbling right next to you. And I just want you to feel that closeness and intimacy with Christ in your sufferings. I don't know why God is trying to teach you that and make that so evident, but there's a reason for it. And just know that the church is there with you, and I'm there with you, and that I love you, and I care about you a lot, and God will redeem all of these things.
Yeah. So good, dude. Yeah, thank you so much. And you're right, dude. We need to be viewing this from a different lens, because I think the devil uses these things to be like, oh, God is inflicting these things on you, and you need to pray harder, or you're going to be bitter at God for allowing these things. And it's a total distraction. Whereas, like you said, the perspective needs to be, no, God is with me in the sufferings and compassionate. He's not turned his back on me because all these things are happening. So I'm so encouraged by that, and I'm thankful for you to speak that life into me, When
you start talking about sufferings and hard stuff, I'm never going to hit you with but it's okay, everything's going to be good, because like it's harder than anybody can understand, and you're going to be surrounded for the rest of your life by lots of people who will never understand the depth of the pain that you've gone through. And that's okay, because you're going to bring that encouragement to somebody else that will. be going through that. They're not going to understand it at the time, and that's going to be your role in their life too. So just know that I get it, that God gets it, and you're not alone. And do not feel the guilt and shame of how you responded at all. Do not let that bring you down, and don't let that dictate your worth and your value. I promise you right now that, I'm committing to praying for you tonight and praying for you tomorrow. Know that when you see me tomorrow, that you'll have been prayed for by me. And yeah, dude, I'm here for you and I love you a lot. And
yeah, pray for me on the phone, bro. Let's do that too.
Yeah,
that would be great. Yeah, I just really appreciate you, man. I can't come to everybody with this stuff, because they haven't walked through it, or they don't know, and they'll give you the buck up. It's going to be okay. And it's like, I appreciate that you're able to sit with me and the pain of it, and then encourage me as well,
Yeah, dude, I'll pray for you right now. Okay. Getting situated here.
Taking your deep breaths, dude. Here we go.
All right. Don't close your eyes, though.
No, I know. I'm driving.
All right. Lord God, from the bottom of our hearts, God, we love you. I know that Spencer loves you and just desires to please you and do your will, God, and navigating through life and even figuring out how to do your will, how to serve you. It is one of the most confusing and difficult things that we can do in this life, God, is honestly try to follow you and stay the course and take the narrow way that leads to life. God, even trusting that narrow way will lead to life is hard. The devil plays tricks on our minds and confuses things and tells us things about ourselves that aren't true, and tells us things about you that aren't true, God. And I just want to pray in your son Jesus' name, God, against the lies and the tricks of the devil in Spencer's life, God, that you would be his protection, God, that you would fill him with your Holy Spirit so much that the voice of truth would be louder than all these other voices that are trying to take hold of him and take hold of his heart. God, I just, I'm so grieved and so heartbroken over what Spencer has been enduring. And God, he's tired and just so weary. And I just pray, God, that in this week and very soon that you would give him a place of rest, whether that is just a new opportunity or a new person or a new conversation, God, that you would just be his delight, that there would be things that come along that will just be little blessings that he'll be able to see and point directly to you. God, give him a very clear glimpse of your kindness and love very, very soon, God, in a way that's undeniable. We just need his path to be a little bit more clear and just less confusing. I remember praying this to you, but it's like, I get it. Okay, I get it. You don't need to drill this into me anymore. I know that I need you. I'm willing. I don't want to have the rug pulled out from under me anymore. I'm ready to move on to the next stage of spiritual maturity. And I just pray, I beg you, God, that with Spencer's dedication to learning scripture and choosing to put these in his heart and choosing to latch onto these words of truth, God, that you would honor your promises, that you would honor these truths that he's putting into his heart, God, that you would remind him why you gave him those promises, and that he would be able to see these hardships and times in his life as worth it, that all of these things and ups and downs and just collapses and failures, that they would pale in comparison to the good things that you have for him, God. And we're not prosperity gospel people. We're not name it and claim it people, but we do believe in your goodness. I beg, God, and I ask so truly ask God that you just show Spencer your goodness in such a tangible way, that you give him strength and give him an overwhelming reaping of the fruits of the Spirit, God, of love, your love and your joy and your peace, God, and give Spencer patience and be kind to him and just fill him with your goodness and remind him of your faithfulness and gentleness, and especially give him self-control to seek you and to prioritize you above everything. Lord, we love you so much, and reignite our love for you in true and honorable ways, that you would speak to Spencer in ways that he can understand, and just show him your love, and he needs it. And we just come to you with boldness and with a desire to know you and to be close to you, God. With all the power of the Holy Spirit, we ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen, dude. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, dude. It's an incredible prayer, and just thank you so much.
Of course, bro. I'm always here for you, and I know that I get busy and have my own stuff in life, but just know that I'm always here for you, and that I love you a lot, and I'm on this journey with you.
All right. I love you, man. Thank you so much.
I love you too, dude. Good night.
I'll see you. Bye.
And that's it.